friends, welcome back to the channel, All Things Keto with Kelsey. I'm Kelsey, and today I am going to be sharing with you my thoughts around one of my August challenges. If you guys have seen my August update, you know that I did a cold plunge challenge and a no coffee challenge. So my goal was to do a cold plunge every day of August. I wanted to share with you how that went. I definitely, first of all, encourage you to do your own research. Definitely, if you're interested in jumping into this, definitely talk to your healthcare provider. I am not a medical professional. I am not recommending that you do this. I am just sharing with you my experience that I had with cold plunging through the month of August. Going off of that, there are lots of supposed benefits to cold plunging. Boosting your immune system, boosting your metabolism, reducing inflammation, reducing depression and anxiety and other mental issues that you may have. There are a lot of benefits to cold plunging, and I am just kind of in the beginning of learning about this. I did start cold plunging in the spring, like March, April. I wanted to keep doing it through the summer, but my cold plunge tank is a stock tank. It's a 100-gallon stock tank, and it stayed cold very easily during the spring. I never had to add ice to it. It was just like easily 40s and 50s. It stayed in the 40s and 50s. And that was where I was comfortable. So, with the summer and the warm weather, it was more and more difficult to get that water to under 60 degrees. The recommendation for cold plunging is you can see benefits under 60 degrees. So, as long as your temperature is about 60 degrees or less, you can still see benefits. So I decided that I was kind of taking the easy route and just being like, well, I can't do the cold plunge because I can't do it outside. And instead of wasting 100 gallons of water every time, I decided to just go ahead and try to cold plunge in my bathtub. So in my bathtub, I would fill it up with cold tap water, and it was usually around 65, something like that, coming out of the tap. And then I would freeze ice in my freezer, and then bring it down below 60. Sorry. I would bring the temperature of the bath down to 60 or less. Cold plunging in the bathtub isn't perfect. It doesn't cover your entire body, but I do feel like some cold immersion, cold therapy is better than none. So what I ended up doing was I would lay down in the bathtub and get submersed as much as I could, and then I would set the timer for 5 minutes. And then when the 5 minutes was up, I would sit up, and so my knees would be out of the bathtub the whole time. And then at the end of the 5 minutes, I would sit up and I would kneel. So I would be getting my knees and legs for another 2 to 3 minutes. So in the past, when I had done cold plunges, I felt like I noticed a difference in my mental health. Like, I definitely struggle with light depression throughout the month related to my menstrual cycle. So like several days prior to my period starting, I would end up having just pretty severe depression. There were days where like I would just lay on the couch because I felt like I couldn't do anything. And obviously I have to be somewhat functional because I have 3 kids at home. And so it was definitely not something that debilitated me completely, but it was noticeable. And those were several days that I just struggled in the month, every single month. Since having my 3rd child, I've had this same symptom prior to my period. I also would experience 2 to 3 days of serious cramping, just kind of like leading up to my period. I'm done. It's coming, and the pain it was noticeable and frustrating. It was just like, I haven't even started my period and I'm already feeling gross. So when I had done cold plunging this spring, those symptoms went away completely. The depression the pre-period cramping. And then the first couple of days of my period, I had very heavy bleeding and pretty bad cramping as well. So from the cold plunging in the spring, I eliminated all of that cramping. I almost had, like, I would say a 97 to 99% painless period, which is totally insane. And to be honest, you know, I kind of was hoping that my back pain would just like completely be gone, or like I'd start burning fat like super crazy. Those are not things that happen. But if the only benefit that I saw from cold plunging was way less pain for my period, then I felt like this was worth it. So for the month of August, my hope was to cold plunge every single day and see what the results were. So I'm gonna share with you just the experience of one of my cold plunges in my bathroom. I'll speed it up a little bit so it's not like so boring. I also had a toddler that I was, you know, parenting from the bathtub. Yeah, so I just kind of wanted to share like my process of how I set up my cold plunge, and then like how I get through it mentally, and how I feel afterward. I have my bath drawn, and I just wanted to kind of show you how I set it up and get it cold enough to be under 60 degrees. So I have my meat thermometer and my timer. I always set this just for the amount of time that I want to be doing it, and then I check the tap water. I leave it on cold, and I'll check the temperature of it coming out of the tap, and it's about 63. Okay, so I'm gonna want it to be under 60, and it's 61 right now. I just put my ice in. These are 2-liter bottles that I have saved. I've saved these water bottles, and I keep putting them back in my freezer every night after I use them. This just seems like the easiest way to get ice. I'm not gonna buy ice. Making this much ice it's too much to keep up with for me. So refilling the bottles works really well. So I'm gonna let these bottles sit in here for a little bit, and then I will come back up and I'll take the lids off and let the cold water come out of the ice so that it can melt better. So I'm gonna empty the water from my ice jugs, and I'm just gonna set them out so they don't get in my way while I'm icing. All right, and I'm gonna check the temperature, and we're at 57.9. So about 58. So I typically put on some calming music, and I sit in my tub, but I always take a timer. I'm gonna set it for 5 minutes, and I set it for 5 minutes and 10 seconds, so it gives me a little time to get all the way submerged. The first 30 seconds are the worst, and then I'll be talking to you guys. So here it goes. Okay. Thatcher, put that back, please. This is the worst part. Okay.
Hi, Mom.
Hello.
You're in camera.
I'm in the camera. Yes, I am. Okay.
I'm in camera. I'm in camera.
I'm 30 seconds in, and I'm definitely already a lot more used to it. So as you can see, my knees are not in all the way, so I'm going to adjust for that later. And my chest is not all the way in, but I could go a little deeper, but this is kind of what works for me at this point. So I'm just gonna go for 5 minutes. You will notice my hands are touching my thighs. I have had a hard time with numbness in my fingers, so this is just a way that I keep my hands from being numb for like the rest of the night. that is how I do a cold plunge, and it's not terrible. As you can tell, like once the first 30 seconds are over, it just feels fine. So I'm out and mostly dried off. I'm gonna change into some warmer clothes, but I already feel like I'm less cold already. Like it doesn't feel, when I first started doing cold plunges, it was like unbearable for like an hour afterwards. And now it's been about 2 minutes and I'm feeling better. So you definitely build up a tolerance to it the more often you do it. So I did 5 minutes on my back, and then I did 2 minutes on my knees. So that's how I cold plunge. So for the month of August, I ended up getting 28 cold plunges out of the 31 days. So not exactly a perfect score, but 28 out of 31 is still a great success rate. And I feel really good and accomplished that I did that. There were a couple nights that I missed just based on circumstances, like how late we got home. And one night I was just like, I'm not doing it. Like I had a really bad attitude, didn't want to do it. I would say that the results were a little bit, disappointing, kind of, because I actually, if you have seen my August update video, you know that August was a huge struggle for me in regards to my diet. I definitely was eating a lot of inflammatory foods, and I think if I am going to approach these cold plunges in a way that is honest, I can't expect the cold plunge to get rid of inflammation that I'm intentionally causing by the foods that I'm eating. If I were to be very strict for the entire month of cold plunging, I think my benefits would have increased for sure. At the very least, the symptoms that I alleviated earlier in this year were the same symptoms that I alleviated this month. So going into my period this month, I had no depression, no cramping, and I had an almost painless period. I'm probably gonna try to keep cold plunging 3 to 4 days a week because there are benefits, and I don't think that you have to do this every single day to see benefits. There are benefits to doing it every day, but several times a week, a couple of times a week is still going to be more beneficial than no times a week. Did get to the point where I kind of enjoyed it, and it's definitely something that I feel is beneficial to me and that I would like to keep doing. I would say after I did it for like 3 or 4 days, my recovery time was so much faster. By doing this regularly, it was something that my body got used to, and my body was more flexible with it. And it did not take me very long to just be like, okay, well, I'm not shivering to the bone, I'm not cold to the bone, or anything like that. So the more you do it, the better the more flexible you'll be able to be with feeling comfortable with it. Even if it's like horrible the first couple times, keep at it, like you'll get better. But yeah, so that is my experience with the cold plunging for the month of August. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope it intrigued you a little bit. Maybe it inspired you to do a little bit of research into cold plunging. Definitely talk to your doctor if you have any questions about that. I'm just sharing my experience that I have had with this form of cold therapy. So if you haven't already, smash that like button on the way out. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified every time I post a new video. And as always, I hope wherever you're at today, you're having a great day. And we'll see you soon, friends.